welcome, and it's that time of the week again. It's the Ort Jet Business Show. I'm your host, David Zidel, and we're going to talk business. And we're talking business with Sarah Sebetola. Good evening. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Sebetola, but yeah, good
Sebetola.
try. Yes.
Okay, we're all learning. That's fantastic. I'm going to introduce Sarah in a while, but as we always do, we start off with a business story. And this week's business story is around the Lego Group. If I asked you a question and I said, who is the greatest manufacturer of tires in the world? Now that I've given it away, you would be correct to say Lego. They create more tires than even Goodyear. Their tires are much, much smaller because they're obviously for the little cars that they make, but the number of tires, they make more tires than all of the tire manufacturing companies put together in the world. More than that, the number of figurines that they create, there are more Lego people in the world than real people in the world. So it's a hell of a success story. But if you look back, it wasn't always a success story. They began in 1932 in Denmark. It's a Danish company. And they started off making wooden Lego blocks. Why wooden Lego blocks? Because the person who started Lego was a carpenter. So he started making Lego blocks, and then it grew, and over time it did very nicely. And then what happened was there was a fire, and they lost all the Lego pieces, etc., and they moved over to plastic. And they became very, very successful. And then in the 1960s, they had huge growth, and they started to expand worldwide. They grew too quickly for themselves. They took on a lot of debt and grew, and they were expanding worldwide and got into trouble. And they almost went bankrupt. So in the early 2000s, or 2003 to be specific, Lego faced $800 million in debt. They were making $1 million loss per day, every single day. What happened is they brought in a new CEO, and from 2004 to 2016, they had this remarkable turnaround. And as we know, Lego then, part of that turnaround was that they contracted with the full manufacturers and started making Legos for things like Harry Potter, the Marvel movies, and they managed to turn it around. So the business story is around, you can start off looking successful. Then you want to grow, and what happens when you're growing, sometimes you can grow too fast for yourself, and then you can get into real problems. But there's always a chance to turn it around. And what we do on the Ort Jet Business Show is we try and teach you and tell you about those building blocks, the Lego blocks. And so we're going to do it step by step, or should I say, block by block.
Yeah.
And part of the person who's going to help us tonight is Sarah Sebetola. Okay. And the interesting thing, and if you listen to the promo before the show, her middle name, Oacheng, actually means to build. So she's living up to her name. Sarah has a branding business, and she was actually born in the Northwest and learned business from her grandmother. And she learned it at a very young age, from about 8, 9, 10 years old. Her grandmother used to buy vegetables, pack them together, put them, I think you said, in a wheelbarrow,
Yes.
and go around the streets and sell them to the different houses. So even at that age, you started learning about entrepreneurship.
Yes.
But then you didn't go into entrepreneurship. You got a job, you studied journalism, and then started working, and you had a steady income. And your husband owned a signage business and started growing that and shared with you the vision that he had.
Yes.
And then unfortunately, he fell ill and passed away.
Yes.
And you had this massive choice. Do you keep with your stable income, or do you try and build the legacy that your husband had? You decided to go with the risky choice. and you dived in and you started the branding business. You offer all sorts of things. It's green event branding, outdoor advertising, ESG consulting, which is environmental, social governance. And tonight we're going to hear about your story and also the do's and don'ts about business. So Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And just first of all, tell us a little bit about, I gave a little bit about the business, but what does the business do? And then we'll start unpacking your lessons.
Okay. I just want to backtrack a little bit to the story you were sharing about the Lego group. And it conjured up such emotions in me because, I once heard that champions are seen in the ring. They are not made in the ring. And often when you see somebody winning, you don't know the hurdles and the ups and downs that they've gone through. All you see is the glory, but you don't know the story. So I'm very inspired, and thank you for sharing the story. I really, really appreciate it. So you are quite correct in terms of how the business came about and my involvement. Had a very cushy job, and I wasn't really interested in entrepreneurship. And my husband at the time shared the vision with me. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out, to be quite honest, until I just made a decision to just, I bought into the vision, and I was like, okay, let me start, living intentionally. Let's do this. We've had different skill set. He was more technical. I was more business development, good with sales and all. So our skill set was very complementary. So we ran with it.
So did you join him in the business while he was still alive?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know he was ill at the time?
Yes.
Did you join him knowing that you might have to take over the business?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't ill to a point where he was critical, and I didn't quite know the extent of his illness. I only got to find out later on, but nonetheless, I have no regrets. I think it was all part of the purpose of me being where I am today. So in terms of what we do at Tshepiso Branding, we are a sustainable and multi-award winning business, and we offer eco-friendly branding solutions ranging from green event branding. So for example, if you need an eco-friendly exhibition stand, or you're hosting an event and you just want to showcase your commitment to sustainability through various branded items, we can help you with that. We offer outdoor advertising as well as large format printing. So billboards, we've done a couple of billboards for MS Spur Corporation and Rokomamas. We, print various marketing collateral, pull-up banners, wall banners, etc. We can build you exhibition stands. We also make sustainable fashion bags made out of 100% recycled plastic bottles. And it's a beautiful journey because we're empowering women waste entrepreneurs that go to landfills, get the bottles. They then sell them to buyback centers who make this felt material that is very versatile. I mean, I've got a bag in front of me that we made for Jacaranda FM. You can make shopper bags, tote bags, just, instead of getting gifts from, that other country. We are supporting local manufacturing.
Okay, so I want to ask you some questions about the bag.
Okay.
But before that, we have to go to an ad break.
Okay.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Ort Jet Business Show. We're talking to Sarah, who owns a branding business, and she's busy telling us about the different elements of the business that she does. And she mentioned a bag that she has in front of her. And the bag, she says, is from recycled plastic.
Plastic bottles.
Plastic bottles.
Yes.
And if you look at it, if I look at the bag, it doesn't look like it's made from plastic. It looks like it's from felt. And it's a magnificent bag that you can use, but it doesn't look like it's recycled plastic. So if you can just unpack how that is made, first of all, and then second of all, something you mentioned to me previously that I'm intrigued about is that you create a product that after you use it, you plant it and a flower grows. Just explain those two things to me.
Okay, cool. So the journey of this bag is there's women waste entrepreneurs that we empower that go to landfills instead of sitting around not having jobs, go to landfills, collect the plastic bottles, sell them to buyback centers. that then crush those bottles, and the output is this felt material. Then you get another set of informal sewing groups that sew the bags together. I mean, I'm sure you can see the quality of the sewing, and if you wanted it branded, it can be branded. So, the benefits are manifold. You are empowering job creation, empowering skills development, and you're also, turning trash into treasure, right? And then we also, so for example, at a lot of events, you get name tags that are made out of plastic sleeves, or, there's just a lot of plastic, and everything just goes to waste after a lot of events. So we can print name tags on seed paper. So what happens with that is, obviously after the event, you no longer need the name tag. Instead of it piling up in your offices, you can plant it, and it can either grow into a flower, a herb, or a vegetable. How cool is that?
I mean, that's amazing.
And I mean, we can make name tags, we can make door tags, we can make business cards. I mean, people often lose business cards. So, if somebody lost your business card, it could end up as a herb or a flower, for example. And it obviously speaks to that sustainability element of reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose. Another thing I didn't mention is we repurpose outdated marketing collateral. So if you've got an old pull-up banner or wall banner, it's got an old campaign, it's piling up in your marketing room, we can take that and repurpose it into a backpack or a pencil case that you can then donate to your local charity, for example. So it's got no business being in landfills. Instead, it's going to, somebody that actually needs it. And that's also contributing to the circular economy.
Wow, that's incredible. And can I ask you, the ladies who go and collect these bottles from the landfill,
Mm-hmm.
I've often seen these guys walking around with these trolleys, and I'm always amazed where they've collected just plastic and plastic and plastic.
Mm-hmm.
What does someone like that earn? Is it sufficient to live on? Because it looks like they do really hard work. And do they earn sufficient?
It is minimum wage, but it is sufficient because obviously it depends on how much they collect. You know what I mean? So the more they collect, the more they have an opportunity to earn. And I mean, can you imagine how many plastic bottles land up in landfills? I mean, you go to every event and all you see is plastic bottles. And, instead of shunning on them, there's an opportunity for somebody else to take that trash and turn it into an income for themselves. So we're not bashing the people that use plastic bottles, provided that there's an opportunity for it to be recycled in the way that, can result into a bag like this. And
so your business that you've been running, let's go back to you taking over from your husband. Mm-hmm. You joined him together, you dived in.
Yes.
And then how long were you together before tragedy struck?
So I would say from 2019 to 2021. So he passed on in January the 24th in 2021. And I was just like, okay, what now? And I think, before he died, he said to me, I want us to pray more. I need to teach you everything that I know. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, where are you going? Why are you telling me all these things? And so we are a match. So he passed away from kidney failure, and I wanted to donate, and we ended up being a kidney match. And we were going to a public hospital, and it was, COVID. And I think, I don't think it was meant to be, but anyway, we were a match, and I wanted to donate, and it didn't happen that way. I mean, I didn't even know what dialysis was. He was on dialysis. It was just beyond me. But like I said, I have no regrets. That man was such a visionary, like I said, he shared the vision for Tshepiso Branding. He was an amazing father. He was so romantic. I mean, I'd never dated someone that romantic. He used to bake for me. He used to cook.
Don't get too much. I'm going to get complaints that I don't do any of that. Okay, so when you lose somebody in as close as that, and someone as clearly that you admire, it's really hard to go on. And what makes it even more difficult is if you're in business together, and now you've got to run the business.
Yeah.
How did you kind of get through that initial grief, and how did you continue with the business?
Honestly, I don't even know. I think I had a lot of people praying for me. I think just having a relationship with God, because, we would go to this church, CRC, together, and the pastor there, I always say, really equipped me to thirst and hunger after God for myself, such that I was able to, take the scripture that I would read and apply it in my life. I know that suffers endures, but joy comes in the morning. I meditated on a lot of scripture, and I had a very good support system. I mean, my mom and my other family members were, they're very supportive, and I've got friends that are also very solid, some of them from primary school. So I think the support system was just incredible. And yeah, I think, I don't know how else to put it, but I believe God and family and support and, organizations like Ort Jet even. I mean, the amount of business support, being connected to mentors, being given access to markets. I think there was just a lot of love and support and community that helped me keep it together.
Had you approached Ort beforehand, or was it only after the tragedy that you approached it?
No, it was before. I mean, even Simba knew. We had a session with some of the Ort Jet mentors, and they helped us a lot. The webinars, being connected to Brad Fisher, who's one of my mentors, and that's where we are based, where AdReach is based, because he's the CEO of AdReach. So the Ort Jet community was already, in our part of our community before he passed away. So it was easy to reach out. And I mean, I remember when I told Brad about his passing, he offered us free advertising campaigns worth 100,000 Rand.
Wow.
And we got business from that. So it wasn't all doom and gloom because of the support that I mentioned.
So how do you go about getting your clients? Mm-hmm. So you've got all these great products where it's green event branding, you got outdoor advertising, and then the environment, social, and governmental consulting. But how do you promote yourself and get the business?
Yeah. So I'm an extrovert. I show up. I go to a lot of networking events. I knock on doors. So I identify a client and I go for them. So one of the places I love going to is Sandton City Shopping Center, or the mall. And I was like to myself the other day when I was there, I'm like, I'm always here and I'm always spending my money here, but these people don't spend money on my business. This has got to stop. So I went to the center management offices. I think I must have gone there 4 times because they told me, marketing doesn't see you unless you have an appointment. But I'm like, how do I make an appointment with someone I don't know? Eventually, the lady there, I think she just got so sick of me. She's like, no, take this email address and email this person rather. I kid you not, the day after I emailed the person, they were now emailing somebody else, instructing them to onboard us as a supplier. But it was like a 2-month process because obviously they've got all these compliance checklists we have to meet. We had to go take out business insurance and this and that and that. And the day we got the supplier number is the day we got business.
Wow.
So for me, I have a hit list and I go after it. I mean, you win some, you lose some, right? I go to events like MSC Cruises, for example. I went to an event, I saw they had a stand that looked great. And I was like, can I please speak to the marketing manager? And the rest is history. We've been doing business with them, I think, since 2021. Other things is obviously people in my circle that know that I'm in business, and then, they'll speak to their procurement to say, here's this girl in business, let's load her as a supplier. Just showing up at networking events. There's a smart procurement that ABSA hosts every year. There's different buyers from different companies. We've done business with Telkom. Like I said, we've done business with Visa. We've done business with Leroy Merlin and Fragoman SA, thanks to Ort Jet. And Fragoman has just been such I don't even know what to say, but they not only support us by giving us business, but they also support us with resources. So 2 years ago, they asked me, what is our business wish list? I was like, huh? I was so taken aback, and it seems like something that they do annually. Last year, we also got resources to support our business. So I think it's just showing up, not being shy about what you do, being a shameless megaphone for your business, and you attract business, and also obviously social media, being on social media and just doing quality business, and then you also get referrals.
You've just tuned in And I know a lot of you, normally people are in the cars going home after work, and today, because it's a public holiday, people are most probably listening at home. But if you've just tuned in and you're wondering, who is this sprouting these words of wisdom? So we're talking to Sarah Sebetola.
Well,
Is that right?
yes.
Okay, Sarah Sebetola from Tshepiso Branding. And she's telling us about all the different things that she does. And some of the lessons that she's spoken about is you win when you're in the ring, but you made outside the ring. And what that says is that you've got to do the preparation beforehand. And all the hard work people don't see. They see you're winning in the ring. So when a boxer is winning the fight, they can see, hey, he's winning the fight. But the work has been done before he even steps into the ring.
Absolutely.
And then she said that they crucial in turning trash into treasure. And I like that saying. You're taking trash and you're turning it into treasure. And the big thing that makes her business successful is the networking. And the quote she said is, you must be a shameless megaphone. Without worrying, you just sprout your things, you just tell people what you do. And once people know what you do, they can decide if they want to do business with you.
Absolutely.
Now, the stuff that you do, are you kind of like the middleman? Or do you actually do the branding? I know when you spoke about the bags that you create, you've got somebody collecting the bottles. You've got somebody else doing the sewing of the stuff. Kind of when you have to print all the stuff, do you do it in-house or do you outsource that as well?
So, we've got quite an interesting supply chain. So there's certain things that we do in-house, and there's certain things that we do outsource. And I must just mention some of the funds that we've won. So I enter also a lot of business competitions. So in 2023, I won a grant, and through being a part of the Standard Bank Women Empowerment Program, it's called Giving Wins. So they granted us money, and we bought a laser engraving machine. So to brand this bag, for example, you can either do what they call screen printing, or you can do laser engraving. So oftentimes we'll get the finished product, and then we'll come in from a branding perspective. Right. Another competition that I won in 2024, we got a machine that can brand on eco-friendly paper bags. Those brown ones you get in retail. So we'll buy the bags from wherever, and then we'll brand them in-house. And then, there's, the nature of branding is so broad that it's almost impossible to brand everything in one place unless you've got a lot of capital. So there's certain things, like I said, we've got a laser engraving machine, we've got a machine that brands on paper bags, we've got machines that brand on mugs, pens, whatever, but those wouldn't be manufactured by us.
You keep saying that you've won all these different competitions. So I remember the first competition, or maybe the only competition I've won. I think I was in grade 1, and it was an egg and spoon race. And I managed to balance that egg on the spoon, and I won the race. But I haven't won anything after that.
Yeah.
How do you go about entering these competitions and then winning them?
Yeah. So, I'm very passionate about personal development and continuous learning. So when I see a business program that ties in with, how I want to empower myself, I will enter. So the first winning streak came from the Standard Bank competition. So I was part of the program, and towards the end of the program, you have to submit a pitch. And then, we did live pitches, and then there's obviously judges that will decide who's the winner. So during our year, they selected the top 10 women. And so everybody, sort of got granted what they asked for, but then they also had top 3 winners based on the best pitch. So I was first place. The other competition, Helene from Ort Jet told me about the South African Future Trust Summit that was taking place. She's like, Sarah, you want to go? I'm like, of course I want to go. That's like my playground. And there I found out about a competition that SANBS was hosting. So won that. Then the following year, South African Future Trust had a competition. I don't know, these things just find me sometimes. I don't have to always be.
Are you in business to do business, or are you in business to win competitions?
Both. Yeah, so I mean, one Woman of the Year competition, and that was what partly funded the paper bag machine. And Flight Center Travel Group as well has assisted us. You know what? I don't know. When I ask somebody how overwhelmed I get by the level of support, they're like, "But you've earned it. You've done the groundwork, and now I'm now a money magnet. The money's going to the right places. I promise you that."
So let's just unpack a little bit about when you enter these competitions.
Mm-hmm.
You're obviously doing something right to win those competitions. So just can you talk us through some of the things that you do in preparation? Also, what I'm really asking is what makes you a winner?
I think the fact that we are sustainability champions, it's sort of a value proposition for us, because a lot of SMMEs, yes, we do business to make a profit, but if you run a business on purpose, it makes you stand out. Right. So what is sustainability? Some people might ask, is making sure that you're meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So there's sustainable development goals. There's about 17 of them. And you find that businesses in running their businesses, they're already championing them. So there is zero poverty, there's responsible production and consumption. So, empowering people to move away from using plastic to using, material that is more biodegradable, right? There's things like gender equality, making sure that if you are in a business that runs on water, for example, you're not harming the marine lifestyle. So it's making sure that you're protecting the environment through your business practices, making sure that you are treating your employees fairly and there's equity, and making sure that you are building systems that are financially resilient. So I think for us, it's the sustainable development goals that we are championing. And because companies need to also ensure that their ESG scores are they are good, and obviously it's good for their stakeholders as well. I think we share the same values. So it's like a customer is looking for this type of a supplier, and we are that type of a supplier, and it's a win-win situation. So I think it's based on mainly our value proposition of doing business on purpose.
So you're sharing your values with the company's values.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And our values are aligned.
They're aligned. And I'm going to unpack some of those sustainable goals, the 17, in a little bit more detail, but we'll do that after the break. Welcome back to the Ort Jet Business Show. I'm David Zidel, and I'm speaking to Sarah from the branding business, Tshepiso Branding. And Sarah was unpacking a little bit around the sustainability goals. And it's interesting because there's 17 of those goals. And I know a lot of big businesses focus on them. And one of the banks that I've been working with have focused on, I think it's about 4 or 5 sustainability goals that they said, these are the 5 that we're going to focus on of the 17. But you seem to be focusing on all of them or most of them. But for me, what's even more interesting, and you're winning these competitions because you're focusing on them, is the fact that you even know what they are. And then you're making it your value, which aligns with the company's values. Mm-hmm. And it's always important to do business with someone who thinks like you, because then you're doing things the same or you have the same values. So I think that the business that you're getting, and maybe even more so that the competitions you're winning, is because, as you said, you're looking at those sustainability business and you're being on purpose and you're giving them what they want, and you share the values with those companies.
Yeah.
What I do want to unpack a little bit around, you've been through starting a business or working for a company, then starting a business with your husband, then taking over the business, and you're now busy growing and you've got some great products. So what are some of the lists of the do's and don'ts that you've learned over the years for somebody listening in and thinking, hey, I want to be another Sarah?
Mm-hmm. I must say, first and foremost, believe in something or some power bigger than yourself. And for me, it's God. Like I said, I don't think I would have been able to carry on had I not known that, you know what, God has my back and I'm not doing this thing alone, right? taking yourself seriously. You know, people can tell whether you're here today and going to be gone tomorrow. Really just make sure that you take yourself seriously, and have a vision. Have a vision and write it down. Though it may tarry, it will come to pass. And that comes from the book of Habakkuk 2. Once you have a vision, obviously have an execution plan, right? And we've been taught a lot about the business model canvas, where you talk about who are my customers, what are my revenue streams, what is my value proposition. Just a short version of a business plan. Business plans are often 20 million pages, but nobody really pays too much attention. Just a crystal business model canvas of how are you going to make money, right?
So just before you go on, I just want to, for listeners who don't know what the business model canvas is, but it's like a business plan on one page.
Yes.
And it tells you what the customer needs are, what's the problem that you're solving for that customer,
yes,
and how you're going to do it, what are the different resources that you need, and how you're going to charge for it. So it's a business plan, but it's done in like a diagram format on one page. And you found that helped you?
Yes. So it's like the who, what, where, why, how, why. They call 5 W's and the H. That's basically what you need to know. And then create systems. So once you know all those things, how are you going to execute? So the systems are both for internal and external use. So if you were to step outside of the business, can somebody take over? If a client says, okay, I want a billboard, do they know the steps they need to take to get that billboard out? So it's systems and making sure that you serve your customers with excellence and good quality, because that's how you get referrals. That's how you get additional business, because there's a lot of competition out there, and that's why they say you need to have a competitive advantage. Why should they do business with you versus, their current supplier? And we do get a lot of companies saying, oh, we've got current suppliers. Okay, great. We're not trying to, take businesses away from them, but just to make you aware that there's a lot of competition, so you need to find a way to stand out.
So what is your competitive advantage or your standout?
So like I mentioned, it's the sustainability approach. I mean, I was meeting with a potential client the other day, and they were like, a lot of the suppliers that we currently do business with, they don't bring that in. And businesses are trusting us as suppliers to give them new ideas of how they can also be sustainable. So it's that education element as well that I believe makes us have that competitive advantage.
So what you're saying is you got to show that you're doing something different.
Yes.
You got to stand out and be outstanding at the same time.
Absolutely. That's the correct English. Yes. And like I said, show up at networking events. Make your business known, and go there branded. I mean, currently I know it's a radio interview, but go there branded. Make people aware of your brand. Wear your brand. I mean, I could be wearing any other brand, but I choose to.
So what Sarah's saying, she knows it's radio because she's wearing a shirt that says Tshepiso Branding on it for professional brands, and that's what it says on her shirt. And in fact, I've met you a couple of times, and every time, maybe you've only got one shirt because every time you're wearing, but that's what Sarah's saying. It's like, be the brand, be out there.
Absolutely. And associate yourself with communities such as Ort Jet, communities that are intentionally empowering SMMEs. There are so many of them out there, and they don't just support you with non-financial support like mentorship. Some of them even have grants. But you need to demonstrate that you've put in the work. Sometimes people just want grants, but if I were to just backtrack a little bit, if I wanted a grant when I started this business, I probably wouldn't have known what to do with it, or would have used it for the wrong reasons. So timing is of the essence. You need to make sure that when somebody says, here's money, you know what you're going to do with that money. Right? Invest in personal development, read books, attend, workshops, attend webinars, and constantly challenge yourself. I mean, I even joined golf as a strategic business activity, and I thought it would be boring, but it's not boring. It's quite humbling. I think the word is humbling.
So I've heard lots of people say, I played golf, but it's just for business. And I go, yeah, really?
Nah.
So how does playing golf help you?
So initially I thought, because you hear people say, oh no, the decision makers are in the golf course, we make deals in the golf course. So to be quite honest, that was the initial thinking, but things didn't necessarily unfold that way. And because there's so much going on in business, I couldn't make as much time to even get a handicap. But for me, I think it's a lot like life, right? Sometimes you aim, you're trying to hit at something and you miss it. What's the lesson there? Try a different approach, but always keep your why in mind. Even like ice skating, I really enjoy ice skating. Can you imagine how many times I fall because I'm not a professional? But as many times as I fall, it's just as many times as I get up. And that's also how it is in business. Don't take failure as, as you are incapable. Fail forward. Learn what you need to learn. And at least you know that you shouldn't be doing things that way.
We're going to get a couple more do's and don'ts from you, but we'll do that after the break. Welcome back. I'm David Zidel. You're listening to the Ort Jet Business Show. And together we're listening to Sarah, who's giving us all the input around growing a small business and growing out of disaster and going into triumph. And Sarah's been going through a list of do's and don'ts. And I think you've just got a few more to share with us. So if the last one you ended off with was fail forward. In other words, if you fail, it's a learning step. And next time you can do it better.
Absolutely, yeah. So just maybe 2 or 3 more do's. Always remember to incorporate sustainability into your business's value proposition. And, be curious. There's so many competitions out there. Enter them, please, and make me proud and win. I don't want to be the only one winning, right? and on the don'ts, please have a winning attitude. Like, be bold and courageous. Don't be timid and sit in the corner and wait for opportunities to come your way. Grab them and make sure that you are always keeping your finger on the pulse. And don't be desperate. Please don't be desperate. Some things will come your way. Not everything is for you, right? And don't ignore feedback. Like, so early this year, I went to our different key account clients and I went to just sit with them to ask, how are we doing? Are you still happy with us as a supplier? What can we do better? And use those that feedback to improve on your service delivery. And I think that's just about it. I mean, there's so many, I could go on. And remember, be a shameless megaphone for your business. Your business must be known in order for people to do business with you.
So I think that should be your new slogan, be a shameless megaphone. So if I can just unpack some of the things that you've done in case somebody's just joined us. So the first of all, you said, number 1 on your list was believe in a power that is greater than yourself. Mm-hmm. So you're doing it for a greater purpose and understand what that purpose is. And it gives you the strength that there is something greater than you and you might not see it right now.
Absolutely.
And then the second thing you said is take yourself seriously. In other words, don't be a fly-by-night. Mm-hmm. Don't just try things willy-nilly. You're doing it, again, intentionally.
Yes.
Have a vision and execute the plan and create a system to execute that plan. So think ahead. And then service your customer with excellence. Yeah. In other words, don't just give them what they want. Give them as much as you can give. Try and be excellent in what you're doing. And that links a bit to your competitive advantage. Yes. Understand what you can give that other companies that you're competing with can't give. Mm-hmm. What is your, and another term I've heard before is, what is your unfair advantage? What is something that you've got that others can't give? And it might be just even your personality, or it might be something that you can use that others can't really access. It might be your experience. It might be anything that might be that you've got a megaphone in your mouth. It might be something like that. And then go to the network and get involved. Yeah. Get people involved. Tell people what you're doing all the time. Get involved with organizations that can help you. Yeah. So you said that like Ort helped you, but there are many of those organizations as well. Mm-hmm. Look at what if you're looking to start a business, who's around that can help you? And you said there's more than what we think. Invest in your personal development, and I can hear just the way you're talking is you've invested in a lot of that, understanding even the business model canvas and creating a plan with that. You said if you do fail forward. In other words, learn from what you're doing. Next time you're in a better place.
Absolutely.
And then one of your advantages was sustainability.
Yeah.
And I think that flows through your whole business. What you said, that's your unique advantage as well. That's where you've got the business is around, and won competitions is around that. Yes.
Yeah. No, I must just also say invest in your team, right? So the team that I work with, I know that they've got side hustles, right? They've shared them with me, and I always try to hold them accountable to what they say they are planning, in order to grow their own businesses. So, I mean, I'm sort of a little bit ahead of them, and my wish for them is to learn as much as possible from my mistakes, from, my personal development, so that when they do decide to leave and, focus full-time on their businesses, they are equipped. So, when you have a team that sees that you care about them, they will hopefully care about your business.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you said, and linked to that, be bold.
Yeah.
Go into different competitions, follow the different competitions. Don't be scared to do it.
Yeah.
And I think something that you just mentioned that I thought was fantastic is not everything is for you.
Yes.
In other words, sometimes there are things that you pitch for and you don't win it.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not for you, and maybe it wasn't meant for you.
Yes.
And the final thing that you said is use feedback to grow with.
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't ask for feedback. And even if we are given feedback, we become defensive. And it's about growing. And you can't be good at everything. But the best way to grow is to listen to the feedback and grow from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just to go back on your point, I think you mentioned that we champion most of these goals. We actually champion 4, right? So there's responsible production and consumption that speaks to, moving away from using plastic, for example, to more sustainable alternatives, reuse, reduce, and all of that. We champion sustainable cities, and that is obviously it comes in from taking away the plastic bottles from the landfills and turning them into treasure. There's also quality education. There was a program that I was involved in with Citizen Leader Lab where they pair business leaders with school principals, and the purpose of that is to help learners to be able to read for meaning, right? And then there's also gender equality. So we do try to empower as many women as possible. So it's 4 goals that we champion.
Wow, it's incredible. And it sounds like you understand everything that you're involved in. And it's, I think this is a great point to end with those things, with the 13 different points that you gave, and then these things.
Thank you.
And this has been Sarah from Tshepiso Branding for what's it?
For progressive brands.
For progressive brands. Yes. I'm David Zidel, and this has been the Ort Jet Business Show.
Thank you.